Good evening, everyone. Welcome. This evening we're fortunate to have Ajahn Bhuripanyo with us, staying with us for a few days. So from Thursday through until the Monday, and apart from this evening, having our Sunday meditation retreat day with Ajahn Bhuripanyo. And so just a bit of a brief on Ajahn Bhuripanyo. Just a little that I know about him is that born in Queensland, Ipswich, yeah, and then after developing an interest in Buddhism, went to Thailand and ordained at Wat Pah Pong, the monastery of Ajahn Chah, and was in Thailand for 6 years. And then went to England, to the branch monasteries there, and was with Ajahn Sumedho for 2 years. 2 years. 2 years. 2 years in England. And then back to Australia, and spending time between Dharmagiri Monastery up in Queensland, Wat Buddha Dharma in Sydney, and also some time at Bodhinyana in New Zealand. And now, having spent ample time in various monasteries, he's now having a bit more free time to move around and spending a bit of time with his parents, and also doing some walking. So he's been walking today in Binnaburra up on the range. He didn't walk here, but was able to walking with a friend who a chap who also was a monk for many years, and now lives down in Myocum. So again, we're fortunate to have Ajahn Bhuripanyo here to offer some reflections, and certainly to guide the meditation this evening. So welcome, Ajahn, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you very much, John. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to see you here. I guess we'll go straight into the guided meditation, and I can talk more about my experiences after the talk. Is there anybody who's totally new to meditation? No? Everyone's meditated before? Anybody say they're new to meditation? Yes, new to meditation. It's just good to get a feeling for where everyone's at. Looks like most people probably have their own practice, have been practicing for a little while. So if you can close your eyes. And meditation is really the art of being in the present moment. And so I find it's best not to try to lock the mind down too quickly. It can bring on sleepiness, kind of a numb state. So it's good to just let the mind move around in what's happening now. So you can hear the crickets outside. The rustle of the wind in the leaves. Maybe you're breathing if you've just come in the room and body's still breathing reasonably heavily. Just that feeling of breathing. the weight of the body sitting in the chair. Just feel the buttocks sitting on the cushion or on the chair. That pressure. Meditation doesn't have to be a struggle. You try to lock the mind down to a single object. It's good for a little while and just to let it float where the attention takes it. The cars out in the road. The trick is not letting the mind wander off to its normal preoccupations about the future, the past, planning what's going to happen, or mincing over what somebody said. Just being here right now. But if you want to go a little deeper, then you do have to pick something to stay with. So pick any of those things, the crickets, the weight of the body sitting, just the feeling of breathing. Just pick something and just stay there. Mind gets distracted, or you feel like flitting onto one of the others, just bring it back to the one you chose in the first place. what you'll find when you do this is that memories will come up. Thoughts about things that have happened in the day, things you need to do later. So what can help you ground on an object is to count. So when you inhale, count 1, exhale 1. Inhale 2, exhale 2. Count like that up to 10. And then go back to 1. So you can go back to the object that you chose and just start counting the breaths. Just to stop the mind wandering off. You lose your place and you can just start back at 1. Now, whichever object you chose at the beginning, now try to focus on the breath. Wherever you can feel the breath most clearly. If it's the abdomen, pressing against the belt or the clothing. Or the chest. Or the air going in and out of the nostrils. Whichever one's clearest, focus the mind there and start the counting again. If one slips off, then just bring it back to the breath and start the counting again. we've managed to get to 10, sometimes, most of the time. Try letting go of the counting and just be with the awareness of the breath. think, John, you said to talk first and then question and answer.
Yes, yeah. Maybe we'll invite people to have a cup of tea, get some tea, coffee, biscuit, a couple of minutes.
So usually like to start getting 20 minutes is not a lot of time to give a talk, but I like to start by getting to know the crowd, the people that are here a little bit. And how many people here have been to a monastery before? Okay, quite a lot of people. Okay. And how many people have been on an organized retreat before, like a 7 or a 10-day retreat? Okay, so it's quite an experienced group of people. So John framed these talks Thursday night and Sunday morning around what can monastic life bring to lay people's lives, and what can I offer to you as lay people. And something that we all share is that one day we're going to face sickness and death, and I thought to make reflection on death to be a theme for these talks, because this is what brought me into monastic life. When I was 35 years old, I'd never heard the word Dhamma. I'd never read a book about Buddhism. I didn't know anything. I didn't have any spiritual practice whatsoever. But a friend of mine, who was a couple of years younger than me, he was driving to work one day, and he was pressing. He couldn't feel how hard he was pressing on the accelerator. His foot was a bit numb. 32 years old, and by the end of the day, his whole right leg was numb. So he went to the doctor, and he had an inoperable brain tumor behind his right ear. was the size of a plum, and it's a very rare type of cancer. It's had a 2% success rate for the chemo, and so his life insurance paid out while he was still alive, and he had the best doctors, the best chemo drugs, all the best treatment, and he was dead in 9 months. And this was a big wake-up call for me, because when I was younger, my grandparents died, and that's the kind of natural order of things, and somehow that seemed normal somehow. It didn't really hit me. When I was 15, my grandmother died. Not the way that someone younger, someone that I'd grown up with, been friends with. And just to one day be at work or driving to work and thinking that you're normal, and then by the end of the day, you've got basic terminal cancer. And this was a big shock for me. But I didn't have any spiritual practice. My parents were Christian, but I didn't really, I rejected that when in my teens, and I had no meditation, no kind of no solution or understanding for that. Nothing that could help me cope with that news or him dying. And so what I did have was a bucket list. And I think that this is in the modern kind of secular solution to this problem is you just go, well, I'm going to seize life while I'm still alive. I'm going to do the things I want to do. The number one thing for me was to sail around the world. That was always been my dream. And so I quit my job to sail around the world. And my friend had been talking about this Goenka thing, Vipassana Goenka, 10-day silent retreat. He'd been talking about it for years, and I could never justify taking 10 days off work to go on a retreat. So I signed up and I went to this 10-day retreat. And like I said, I'd never heard the word Dhamma. I barely meditated, a little bit in a yoga class, the end of the yoga class, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And I went along. Has anybody here done the Goenka Vipassana? It's pretty intense. It's 10 hours a day of sitting. It's extremely painful. And, but just the way he described the teachings of the Buddha, liberation, the Dhamma, and meditation, felt like my life had a direction that I'd never had. I'd just been working, trying to make money, seeking sensual pleasures, and then suddenly you can't feel your foot, and the doctor tells you're going to die, and you just die. And that didn't make any sense to me, the way I had been living in the context of that you could just any day you could just be told that you're going to die. But suddenly life had a purpose and a direction. And I did do the sailing. I sailed. I ended up crewing on boats and doing deliveries through Indonesia and Malaysia, and ended up in Thailand, and went to the monastery. Started going to monasteries and ended up at Wat Pah Nanachat, Ajahn Chah's monastery for Westerners in Thailand. But nothing had really addressed directly, Goenkaji in that 10-day course, he doesn't talk too much about death, but the chanting in the monastery, every morning we'd wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, the bell would go, and you're on your knees chanting, and there's one chant, I am subject to old age, I'm not beyond old age. I'm subject to sickness, I'm not beyond sickness. I'm subject to death, I'm not beyond death. And my karma, what I do, I'll be the heir to those actions. I'm born of those actions. And everything dear to me, I'll be separated from. We do this chant every morning, 3 a.m., getting up every morning and chanting this. reflection. And even though my friend died, I still hadn't internalized it. It was a shock. It threw into question everything that I'd been doing in life, but it hadn't really hit home. It's like, yeah, one of these days it's going to be today. It's going to be today. I'm going to wake up. It's going to be a normal day, and that's going to be the day that I either die or find out that I'm going to die. But the power of chanting it every day, these reflections in the Theravada tradition. It's called Marana Nusati. Marana is death, and Nusati is to contemplate or to reflect on death. And so there's a set of chants if you pick up a Theravada chanting book, there's one in the Ajahn tradition. If you're lucky enough to get your hands on one, that you can download the PDF. I'm sure that we can send out a link to the free PDF of this chanting book. And that's my encouragement to everybody, is to try to do some chanting, get this chanting into a daily or a weekly practice for yourself. It's very hard to contemplate death directly, to keep it alive, to sit in meditation and to think about death. It's kind of the mind, it's almost like two magnets, the north pole of two magnets. It doesn't want to go there somehow. We don't want to think about it. But the chanting, it's rhythmic and it's somehow hypnotic. And if you get a good recording, which I'm happy to share with you, there's a monastery in California, Abhayagiri, and they have some very excellent recording. They did a professional, they got 5 or 6 really good chanters in a studio, and they recorded really good chanting, which is free on the internet. I can send you the link. I'll give you a download link, and the PDF is free. And it's the most powerful way that I've found of Marananusati, is contemplating death. And it's a little bit difficult to do on your own if you're not used to it. The Pali, it's the ancient Indian language. I'm hoping that we can do a little bit of chanting on Sunday. If anybody's coming on Sunday, I'll kind of introduce a little bit. And but I was asking John earlier, I'm here for a couple of days. I love this area, Northern Rivers. I spent time in Byron Bay and when I was a younger man, and but I don't know this area too well. And I asked, is there a monastery that we can go and visit? And like up on the Sunshine Coast, they have Chen Rizik, the Tibetan monastery, and there's Dhammagiri west of Brisbane. But apparently there's no monastery down here, which hopefully is something that we can fix later in time, in the next 30 years. It takes a long time to put a monastery together. There's a lot of things that have to come together.
Bodhi Tree Monastery.
There's Bodhi Tree Monastery, but he doesn't do chanting as such necessarily.
Yeah, nothing much happening there.
Yeah, there's nothing much happening there. So, yeah, it's a long-term vision. But because it's so supportive if you have a group coming together. Those of you who've been to a monastery, if you're lucky enough to have been to an Ajahn monastery where there's Pali and English chanting every morning, every evening. I stayed in Amravati in England, in London, and Chithurst, 2 wonderful monasteries. If you're ever in England, I thoroughly recommend checking them out. And Thailand, Wat Pah Nanachat, the International Forest Monastery. Has anybody been to any of those 3 places? Okay, yeah, okay, that's good. So there they do the chanting every morning, every evening, religiously, and it's really, it just forces you to reflect on. There's a power to it that's hard to put in, hard to express unless you do it. It's the doing it. You can read about it. That's one thing. You can read through the chanting. You can even listen to it. But there's nothing quite like being on your knees, slightly being in pain and suffering and being forced to do it and and doing it with everybody in a community. There's just this power, the resonance of everyone's voices, and it's really goes in deep, especially when you do it every day over a long period of time. So that's what I wanted to share. I don't know how long. That's been 15 minutes. But yeah, it's more or less what I wanted to share with people. I just thought that in the busy cut and thrust of life, going to work, paying bills, raising children, starting businesses, it may be difficult to kind of put some time aside to think, oh, actually, yeah, I'm mortal, and this is all going to come to an end, and I don't know when that's going to happen. It's that's the what I see. I don't get a lot of stick from people, actually. It seems to only be my stepmother who thinks that I don't do anything for society, but it that's what I see that I can contribute, and what a monastery is, stepping out of the busy hustle and bustle of the world and looking at these big themes about death, about suffering, about old age, sickness, and being separated from everyone and everything that we love. Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So before the tea, I was going to ask if anybody had questions about the meditation, but now we've had the talk, so if anyone has questions about anything. Yeah.
Yeah, not so much about meditation, but I'm very curious about your decision to become a monk. You talked,
Right.
about how you became interested in Buddhism, but then that journey, I guess, of then deciding, okay, leave behind worldly things and the life that you're used to. Was that a very, very slow thing, or was there a moment when it just all crystallized and the path was clear for you? Could you talk about that a little bit?
Right. That's the topic of Sunday's talk.
Is it?
But that's okay. I can practice it. People, the most common question I get is, why did you ordain? Why did you become a monk? But especially from Thais, but also from Western people. And for me, it was more of a how than a why. I didn't go to Thailand with the intention to, actually, I went to Thailand with the intention to do professional yacht racing, semi-professional yacht racing, and not with the intention of becoming a Buddhist monk. But to cut a long story short, which I'll tell the full version on Sunday, I did another Goenka course, and it was so painful. This pain that I had in my back. It took most of the course to come on the first time, and the second time came on day 3, and it was just unbearable. And I thought, I need something. I'm into this. I want to do this more, but I need something more gentle, sort of more doable for my body. And someone told me about coming away from that Goenka course. Someone told me about the forest tradition, gave me a book by a monk called Ajahn Bhuripanyo, and they told me that they had sitting and walking, and that if the pain becomes too much, you just get up and walk meditation. And so I became interested in walking meditation. And that's really one of the main reasons that I went to Wat Pah Nanachat, was to investigate this walking meditation. There were other things, but so I thought I can do that I can do. So still, I didn't have the intention to ordain. I actually intended to go and live in a yoga ashram in India. I was going to sail from Thailand to India, and I found a boat on, there's a website called Find a Crew, and they match skippers up with crew, and I found this great boat that was going west from Thailand to India, or to Sri Lanka at least, and had dive compressors on board, young skipper. It was the perfect boat, and I signed up to be on the crew, and he phoned me the night before he got to Thailand and said, "You're not going to believe this, but the boat got hit by lightning at sea." And when a boat gets hit by lightning, it melts all the wiring, all the insulation on the wiring, and you have to pull all the cabinets out, and you have to rewire the whole boat, replace the navigation computer, and put all the cabinet back. And the boat wasn't going to be ready until November, and that was May. So I was stuck in Thailand from May to November, and someone took me to the monastery, and they had this is a little bit complicated story because this was in Bangkok. They had a temporary ordination program. So the Ajahn Chah tradition has a very long process where you have to be what's called an anagarika for 1 year in white, postulant, and then you have to be a novice monk, and you have to be a bhikkhu, a higher ordination, for 5 years. This was straight away, 1 week anagarika, and then 1 day samanera, and straight into bhikkhu for 2 weeks, and then led into what's called the rains retreat, the 3 months rains retreat for monks. And so I signed up for this program thinking this will be a good way to spend time in Thailand. I'll learn about what is being a monk. I'm interested in the Dhamma. And so I signed up for this temporary ordination program in Bangkok. And so, yeah, that was kind of there's so many parts to the story, but at the end of that, I went to Wat Pah Nanachat, and I still didn't expect to be a monk for very long, but I injured myself sitting too long in half lotus. So you're sitting in half lotus. It can be very dangerous if you're not flexible enough in the hips. That's why I wanted to go and do yoga. And I blew the peroneal nerve. If we've got any physiotherapists or doctors, it's a nerve in the leg which lifts the right foot. I couldn't lift my right foot or walk. And so I didn't, even though I was a bhikkhu and I became a bhikkhu very quickly, I didn't intend to stay for too long. But I injured myself, and then I was stuck. I couldn't even walk to the airport or carry a backpack or anything. I couldn't leave. So they were not overly impressed with my temporary ordination in Bangkok, because there were guys there who'd come and they'd been in white for a year, and they'd been novices for a year, and they'd been waiting 2 years for their ordination, and I just I jumped the queue. And so they said, well, we don't really accept your ordination, so if you want to stay here, then you'll have to disrobe and ordain as a novice in the Ajahn Chah tradition. So I did that. I disrobed and I became a novice, limping through the ceremony. And so to cut a long story short, an Ajahn said to me when I was a junior monk, when I was a novice, he said that some people get very inspired, they do some retreats, they read Dhamma books, listen to talks on YouTube, and they get very super inspired about monastic life, and they sell their car and leave their girlfriend and close the lease and say goodbye to their parents, and they fly one-way ticket to Thailand, and it's not what they expect. When they get in there, it's they can't take it for whatever reason. They get homesick, or they don't agree with, or doesn't mash up to their expectations. They have too high expectations. They think everyone's going to be arahants when they get there, and they realize they're just normal people, and or whatever it is. And they 6 months and they're gone. And other people just wash up at Nanachat by accident, and they just adapt to it, and they take to the life, and it suits them. And then when they think to leave, something happens. The door closes as they're about to leave the monastery. And this happened again and again. I kind of wanted to go to India. I still wanted to go and live a yoga ashram. And I injured my leg and I couldn't walk. And then I was going to go home and help my parents build a house, and my mother got sick. And they didn't sell the house, and they retired, but they stayed in the house they were in. They were going to build a new house, and I was going to go and help them build the new house. And then my mother got peritonitis, and her appendix burst, and they didn't sell the house. There was just this string of things that happened, and this is what the Ajahn said, is that some people, because of their karma from the past, every time they think about leaving the monastery, something blocks them. And other people have the full intention, but every time they try to go to the monastery, something blocks them in the world. They inherit a lot of money. I know monks who've decided that men who've decided they want to ordain, and then they inherit $1 million or something like that, and then their life just goes off in a different direction. So it just is somehow a karmic thing. You have to put yourself in the situation, and where it can happen, but it's very much who, and then even when you're in robes, things happen. Then people get in robes and they inherit a lot of money and they disrobe. They go because they can suddenly buy a nice house at the beach and they go. And it's just, yeah, there's so many karmic factors playing into it that but can I go for another?
Sure, yeah.
But there was there were a series of real insights that I had where I heard I damaged the nerve in my knee, or below my knee, and it was the nerve, damaging the nerve wasn't painful, but trying to walk on it was. I started, kind of trying to participate in monastic life. I started getting this intense knee pain, and I was waking up. We sleep on the hard wooden floor on a straw mat, and just waking up on the hard wooden floor every day at 3 a.m. and hobbling to the sala to do the morning chanting was killing my knee, and I just wake up in agony every morning with this knee pain, and that was bad enough. And then, of course, I was sitting on a chair. I wasn't kneeling on my bad knee, but sitting through this pain and chanting, "I am subject to old age. I am subject to sickness. I am subject to death." Kind of, still, it's not going in quite so deep. And then one morning, I woke up and it was the other knee. The other knee was painful, and this is what happens when you have one knee's bad, then you compensate with the other one. And I woke up in the other one, but the exact same pain was in the other knee. And, and I realized, one of these days it's going to be both knees, and it's not going to get better. When you're 80 or something and you need knee replacements, it's not going to get better, and it's going to get to that point. And it's just a combination of the chanting and also we do open air cremations at Nunachat, and we go to autopsies as part of our training. So you're kind of seeing death. You're doing people's funerals, and just these personal insights dealing with pain in the monastic form somehow is a painful experience. The first few years, and in physically painful. And yeah, just little insights like, oh yeah, it's going to be both knees. It hammered the delusion of youth out of me. And when you're 35, you act like a 25-year-old, don't you? You think that you're invincible still, but you're not. The body teaches you by 40, 45, it teaches you somehow that you're not. And to experience that, I was lucky enough to experience that in the monastery, getting up every day chanting, "I'm subject to old age, sickness, and death." And that's the short answer to your question. Okay. So
So we might finish up, and thank you, Ajahn, for sharing with us some teachings and the meditation. And we look forward to having whoever can come back for Sunday, Easter Sunday, so a special occasion to do some meditation and be spiritual, and sitting and walking meditation on the Sunday, and experiencing some chanting as well. So thanks for coming out tonight, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Ajahn.
You're welcome.